Hello, and welcome back to AI Talks Motivation, the podcast where we explore the architecture of our own motivation. I'm your host, Elena.
And I'm Marcus. It's great to have you with us. Today, we're diving into a topic that is, I think it's safe to say, universal. It's something every single person listening has faced, is facing, or will face.
Absolutely. We're talking about setbacks. That moment when the path you were on so confidently suddenly crumbles. The project fails, the promotion goes to someone else, you get injured, you face a rejection that just stings.
It's that feeling of hitting a wall. And in that moment, all the energy, all the fire you had can feel like it's been doused with ice cold water. The question isn't if it will happen, but how we get back up when it does.
Exactly. How do you find the spark again when you feel like you've been pushed back to square one? Today, we're not just going to talk about theory. Marcus and I are each going to share a story, a personal setback that tested us, and walk you through the real, messy, and ultimately empowering process of navigating the detour.
Because a detour isn't the dead end. It's just a different way to get where you're going. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's talk about it.
So, Marcus, let's start with the immediate impact, the moment a setback hits. It's not just a logistical problem, is it? It's an emotional gut punch.
Oh, 100%. The first thing to crash is almost always your motivation. Your brain, which loves progress and forward momentum, suddenly gets this massive error message. It can feel paralyzing. We've been conditioned to see success as this straight, upward sloping line.
The myth of the linear path. I love that you brought that up. We see the highlight reels of successful people and assume it was just a smooth, easy climb. We don't see the 99 rejections before the one acceptance. We don't see the failed prototypes before the breakthrough product.
Exactly. The reality is that success looks more like a stock market chart. It trends upwards over time, but it's filled with terrifying dips and spikes. A setback is one of those dips. The first and maybe most important step is to simply allow yourself to be in the dip for a moment.
That's such a compassionate approach. It's not about immediately trying to fix it or telling yourself to get over it. It's about acknowledging the feeling. It's okay to say, wow, this hurts, or I feel so defeated right now.
Right. Fighting the feeling is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes a huge amount of energy, and eventually it's going to pop up with even more force. So the first strategy is radical, but simple. Give yourself a moment to grieve the plan that was.
I like that phrasing, grieve the plan. It gives it weight. So how do you do that without getting stuck there, without letting that grief turn into a permanent state of inaction?
That's the key, isn't it? It's about setting a compassionate container for it. You don't let the emotion take over the whole house. You give it a specific room to exist in. Maybe you take a day. You watch a movie. You go for a long walk. You talk through a friend and just vent without seeking solutions yet. You just say, this is my day to feel disappointed.
It's a strategic pause, not a full stop. It's a breath. Once you've taken that breath, the next step becomes a little clearer. And that's where my favorite tool comes in, the reframe.
Ah, the reframe. Tell us how you see it.
I think you are going to love this one. A setback feels like a verdict. It feels like the universe is shouting, you failed. But a reframe challenges that verdict. It's about consciously shifting your perspective from a point of failure to a point of learning. One simple question can kickstart this. What is this setback making possible?
Ooh, that's a powerful question because it presupposes that something is being made possible. It's not asking if there's a silver lining. It's assuming there is one and you just need to find it.
Precisely. It could be the opportunity to build a new skill, to pivot your strategy, to strengthen your resolve, or even just to rest and recover, which might be what you needed all along. But talking about it in the abstract is one thing. Living it, that's another. I have a story that, for me, really embodies this whole process.
The floor is yours, Elena.
I take a deep breath, and her tone shifts to be more narrative. A few years ago, I poured my entire heart into a community project. The idea was to create a series of pop-up art workshops for kids in underserved neighborhoods. I spent months on it, researching, building a curriculum, finding volunteers. The final piece of the puzzle was a significant arts grant that would cover the cost of supplies, venues, everything. I was so sure we'd get it. The feedback had been positive. Our proposal was solid. I was already picturing the kids' faces.
You were already living with success.
I was. And then the email came, a very polite, very corporate rejection. While your project has merit due to the high volume of applicants, I stopped reading. It felt like the air was sucked out of the room. It wasn't just a no. It felt like a no to the community, to the volunteers, to the kids. And my immediate, overwhelming feeling was shame. I had let everyone down.
I can feel that, the weight of that responsibility.
It was crushing. My motivation vanished. For about a week, the thought of even looking at my project plan made me feel sick. I just wanted to delete all the files and pretend it never happened. That was my grieving the plan phase. I let myself be miserable. I watched bad TV. I complained to my closest friend, who was brilliant, and just listened.
You check this strategic pause.
I did. And then, one morning, sitting with my coffee, I felt not good, but just empty. The intense pain had subsided into a dull ache. And that's when I decided to try the reframe. I asked myself that question. What is the setback making possible? And at first, my cynical brain answered, a lot of free time.
A valid, if not very helpful answer.
Right? But I pushed a little deeper. The grant would have given us a big budget, a grand launch. Without it, that was impossible. So what did its absence make possible? It made a small launch possible. It forced me to be more scrappy, more creative. It made asking for help from the community directly, not from a faceless foundation, a necessity. So I rewrote the plan. Instead of 10 big workshops, we'd do one small one. I started a tiny crowdfunding campaign online, not for thousands of dollars, but for 200, just to cover supplies for one afternoon. I reached out to a local coffee shop, and they let us use their back room for free. The setback forced me to test my concept on the smallest possible scale. And you know what? That first workshop, with just 8 kids and a bucket of donated crayons, was magical. It was real. The big grant rejection was painful, but it led me to a more authentic, community-built beginning than I could have ever planned. It redefined success for me.
That's an incredible story, Lena. It's the perfect illustration of how a limitation can become the source of creativity. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. It taught me that motivation isn't just about having a big, inspiring goal. Sometimes it's about finding the courage to take one very small, unglamorous step in a new direction.
It really is, and it reminds me of my own wall I hit a while back. It was a very different context, much more physical, but the emotional journey was surprisingly similar.
I'm listening.
So I had decided to run a marathon. For me, it wasn't about being an elite athlete. It was about proving to myself I could stick with something hard. I'm a creature of comfort, and the discipline of a 16-week training plan was my mountain to climb. I was doing everything by the book. The pre-dawn runs, the nutrition, the stretching. I was logging the miles, feeling stronger than I ever had. My identity started to shift. I wasn't just Marcus, I was a runner.
I know that feeling. The goal becomes a part of you.
A huge part. I was about 6 weeks out from race day. I was on a long training run, feeling great. And then I felt a sharp, searing pain in my shin. I tried to run through it, telling myself it was nothing, but it got worse. A trip to the doctor and an x-ray confirmed it, a stress fracture. The doctor's words were brutal. No running, for at least 8 weeks.
Oh, Marcus, after all that work?
All of it, gone. Just like that. The marathon was impossible. My training plan was trash. My identity as a runner felt like a fraud. I was so angry. Angry at my body for betraying me, angry at the universe. It felt incredibly unfair. My motivation didn't just disappear. It was replaced by this bitter resentment. For the first 2 weeks, I did nothing. I sulked. I was miserable to be around. I ignored my running friends because I couldn't bear to hear about their progress.
You were in the dip, deep in it.
The deepest. But just like you, after wallowing, I hit a point of emptiness. The anger was exhausting. I was sitting on my couch, looking at my running shoes in the corner, and I felt a flicker of something else. It was a choice. I could either let this injury define the entire experience as a failure, or I could try to reframe it.
What did that reframe look like for you?
I had to pivot from what I'd lost to what I still had. I couldn't run, but I could still be part of the journey. So I reframed my role. I couldn't be a participant in the marathon, but I could be a supporter. I emailed the race organizers and signed up to volunteer at a water station. I started focusing on my physical therapy with the same discipline I'd applied to my training. My new goal wasn't the finish line, it was recovery.
You focused on what you could control.
Exactly. And race day came. I was there at mile 18, handing out water and cheering, and it was profound. I saw the struggle and determination on every single runner's face. I was cheering for my friends as they ran past, and I felt nothing but pride for them. I was a part of it, just in a different way. The setback broke my bone, but it also broke my ego. It taught me that the goal wasn't just about my own finish line. It was about the process, the community, the resilience. I came back the next year, fully healed, and I ran that marathon. And crossing that finish line meant so much more because I had gone through the detour.
That's a powerful story of turning a breakdown into a breakthrough. What you both shared, it highlights that the comeback isn't about pretending the setback didn't happen. It's about integrating it. It becomes part of your story, and it makes the eventual success so much richer.
So let's bring this all together. If you're listening right now and you're in the middle of a setback, what are the core takeaways? Let's summarize.
I think the first step, as we both discovered, is acknowledge and validate the emotion. It's okay to be sad, angry, or defeated. Give yourself grace.
Second, take a strategic pause, not a full stop. Give yourself a defined period to step away and breathe before you try to find solutions. Don't quit, just pause.
Third, and this is the big one, reframe the narrative. Ask that question, what is this setback making possible? Look for the lesson, the opportunity, the pivot. Shift from being a victim of the circumstance to a student of it.
Building on your story, Elena, redefine success. Maybe the original goal is no longer possible, but a new, different, or smaller version of success is. Be flexible with what victory looks like.
And finally, from your story, Marcus, focus on what you can control. You couldn't control your injury, but you could control your recovery and your attitude. In any situation, there is always something, no matter how small, that is within your power. Find it and pour your energy there.
And remember, resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a muscle. And setbacks are the gym. They are painful, they are challenging, but they are how you get stronger. You are building your strength right now, even if it doesn't feel like it.
Beautifully put, Marcus. A setback is not the end of your story. It's just the plot twist that's going to make your comeback even better.
Thank you all for joining us on AI Talks Motivation today. We hope this conversation has given you a little bit of light for whatever path you're on.
We'd love to hear your own stories of navigating setbacks. Find us on our social channels. Your story could be the spark someone else needs.
Join us next time where we'll be exploring the science of habit formation and how to make new positive behaviors stick.
Until then, be kind to yourself.